It's a huge weekend for boxing. It looks like Plant Canelo 99.9% done. You got Pac and Ugas. And to help it break us down, the fight is our good friend, of course, Lyle Fitzsimmons from CBSSports.com. He covers everything, UFC, hockey, boxing. What's going on, Fitzy? How you been?
I'm hanging in there. We're trying to stay warm down here. It's only 95, so we got to try to catch where we can get them. But no, life's good. It's a big fight weekend, so what more could you ask for?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And it's funny, Pacquiao has already come out and says, well, I might want to fight Crawford or Spence down the road. I mean, first things first. Listen, Ugas, to me, great backstory, no pushover. And I think the one thing that jumps out, right, with this fight, a lot of people are looking at Pacquiao, prohibitive favorite, minus 360, but he's also had that inactivity. We know about the wear and tear on that body. He keeps himself in incredible shape, but again, just not a 32-year-old Pacquiao. I think Ugas, at the end of the day, quote-unquote, has a puncher's chance. Now, I can see Pacquiao with a stoppage late, but what does Ugas need to do to pull off this upset in your estimation?
I don't disagree with your assertion at all. I mean, one day, Manny's 42, and he was great at 22, and he was great at 32. One day he might wake up, and he'll be a 42-year-old man. And 42-year-old men generally don't accomplish the kind of things that he's been able to accomplish or that he'll want to accomplish Saturday. So he's going to run into the danger every time he fights from here on out that he's going to wake up and be the age he actually is. It may not happen forever. Ugas he's legit. I mean, he's a durable guy. He's tall. He's long. He knows what he's doing in there. He can force a fight. I mean, he's going to be a nice challenge. I think if Manny is still a top five welterweight, if he's still the guy who beat Keith Thurman, he can beat Ugas. But it's no gimme. I mean, this is a nice fight. Anybody who thinks this is just a walkover is not paying attention.
No, I agree. And I guess, the way people were probably going to bet this, too, even if they were thinking that Ugas can pull off the upset, is the fact that, again, you got a fighter in Pacquiao, unquestionably the A side in this one, but I don't think people kind of realize that, Ugas is actually the champion, right? He's got the WBA's top-tier belt. And I think I think he realizes you have a chance to potentially put an all-time great into retirement. And I think that was Spence's thinking as well before the fight fell through. I'm just wondering, do you think he will come out the first couple rounds and just try to test the waters with Pacquiao, or is it a feeling-out process? Because, again, the inactivity with Pac, even though we know as soon as he steps in, he's still Pacquiao. So you have to be careful about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to believe he's going to go out and say, listen, you're a 42-year-old man who hadn't fought in 2 years. I'm going to come after you and see what you have left. I think if his name was anything other than Manny Pacquiao, maybe that's how this guy would approach it. But, at some point you're going to realize, wait a minute, this is Manny Pacquiao, and maybe I should be a little bit more careful. Maybe I'll give him a little more respect than a 42-year-old man deserves, although a 42-year-old man on his level deserves a lot. So I don't know that he's going to come out, hell-bent for leather. I'd love to see it, just to see what it would look like, but it would surprise me more if he approached it that way than if he didn't.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, too, and I want to go back, and I hate to harp on this point, but, again, how much is too much, right? Leonard was beaten up by Camacho at age 40. Ali was brutalized by Holmes at, 37, 38. Tyson got banged around by Lewis at 35. Now, again, considering Pacquiao's had more fights than any of them since he turned pro as a team, I'm not going to say that it's going to be the night where all of a sudden the old man turns into the old man. That's why I think ultimately Ugas has to try to steal a couple rounds. And I know this is going to sound foolish. You're not going to put doubt into Manny Pacquiao's mind. But I think if he can steal a couple early rounds and then Pacquiao knows he's down on the scorecard, maybe it's almost as though he forces Pacquiao to come in a little bit. And Ugas got a little pop. He's a high-volume puncher as well, so I think that would play right into his hands.
Oh, yeah, I don't argue that at all. Do I think it's a good strategy? Yes. Do I think he'll do it? I'm not so sure. But you got to put Manny, in whatever sort of discomfort you can. Make him think, wait a minute, it's been 2 years since I did this. This guy's right on top of me. He's a lot younger. He's moving a lot better than a lot of guys I'm used to. This is going to take some doing. And then maybe if there's any doubt in a 42-year-old man's head, then you start to exploit that. And maybe it starts to go the other way. Now, do I think that's going to happen to a guy on the level of Manny Pacquiao? No. But, again, just like you said, Leonard and Tyson and Ali and a million other guys who were way younger than Manny and had fought fairly regularly still ran into problems at that age. For every one Bernard Hopkins, there's 10,000 guys who don't make it past 35. And, and this guy's 42, he hasn't fought in 2 years, and he's fighting a legit top 5, top 10 guy. That doesn't happen every night. So, he's going to have to be top 5 Manny Pacquiao to be able to do this. Now, it's just a question of whether or not you still think he can be that. Those that back him think that he can. But I'm sure there are some people say, listen, he's just not going to be able to get this done. This guy's too big a bite at 42 to be taken. And, they're not crazy for thinking that.
Do you think if Pacquiao wins this, because I know, again, you got to read into comments sometimes, he's hinted at retirement, following this fight this weekend. Do you think if that's the case, if he does win it, he would retire for good and that would be it?
Well, I think it depends on how he looks. I mean, if he wins a split decision and he gets banged around a little bit and it's not a great convincing victory, I think, maybe Freddie gets in his ear a little bit and say, listen, maybe you're just not what you were anymore. But if he wins this fight going away by a big decision or if he gets him late or whatever, I think he'll keep going. I don't think he pays that much attention to the age. I mean, obviously he knows he's 42, but you are what you feel like. And if he still feels like he can compete with the top 5 guys after this fight, then I think he'll do it. Because there's still fights out there to be made. I mean, people are going to want to see him fight Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford. Maybe if he stays out there long enough, he'll have to stop fight YouTubers. Who knows? As long as he stays relevant, he's going to have options. But I think he's going to base his future based on how he feels, 1 o'clock Sunday morning.
Listen, at the end of the day, I know that the diehard fight fans wanted Pacquiao and Spence, but again, I think this is a fight that's worth purchasing as well because it's an opportunity, as we alluded to maybe get to see Pacquiao one last time. The Spence situation it's very unique, it's odd, it's unfortunate. Now, I don't know if you heard Bernard Hopkins' comments, and like I said, I got a lot of respect for Bernard. I know Bernard. He his opinion is almost, to him, it's almost as though it's the end-all, be-all. I've had this argument with him with some of his fights, when it comes to volume of punches and punches thrown and punches landed. I think it was the Calzaghe fight. He hung up on me on the air. We went back and forth. I think it's in poor taste to kind of call out Errol Spence. And, the people on social media, we know a lot of them are just jackasses and clowns saying, well, he's just pulling out. He doesn't want to fight. I mean, look, at the end of the day, that is a really tough injury to kind of overcome. And, who knows exactly when it really legitimately occurred, so to speak. But I think it's unfortunate because he had to come back after the car crash. He beat Garcia, and I think this was going to be his moment where people really said, okay, you know what? This guy is... he just knocked off an all-time great if he were to be Pacquiao. So I think it's an unfortunate situation all around.
Yeah, I think it's crazy to question that he's trying to get out of this fight. I mean, this was, other than Crawford, this is his career-defining fight. I mean, everybody wants to see him get Crawford, but if he can't get Crawford, who better to get than Manny Pacquiao? I mean, the legend who's been fighting for 20-plus years, who's among the king of the welterweights, one of the best welterweights who's fought in the last 25 years, if not the best, argue with Floyd about that. How could you not want that fight if you're him? To me, this injury is legit. I mean, people can say what they want, but I don't think this guy ran away from this fight. I don't think there was any reason for him to. This was going to be his moments, and unfortunately, 10 days beforehand, he's got to pull out. But, hopefully he comes back, and if Manny wins, maybe they get to do it again in 6 months, and, we'll find out how it would have looked.
It does look like Coppinger's reporting that Alvarez and Plant is pretty much a done deal, agreeing to terms on that undisputed super middleweight title bout in November. This is, again, and maybe it's because there's just too many of the boxing experts on social media. You almost get the sense right away that they believe that Alvarez is just going to come in and just manhandle Plant. And again, I think this is a major step up for Plant, no doubt. I do. I really do. And I'm a big Canelo fan, but I just always think that you have to give your opponent that respect. And I know people will look at Plant 21-0. He's got 12 knockouts. I think he's number 3 at 168 according to multiple polls in the ESPN. And I think this is, his shot now, his crack at Alvarez. I don't think it's going to be his last, but I believe this is a shot where it can probably, if he has a good showing, even if he loses, shut a lot of people up who've criticized him.
About it. I mean, if he wins, obviously this is a career maker, and he's one of the biggest players in the game. He can call his own shots after that. But no, if he goes 12 rounds with him, if he gives him any sort of competitive fight, if he wins 4 or 5 rounds, is in it going down to the last couple, 2, 3. He opens himself all sorts of doors going forward. Maybe you fight Canelo again, but you certainly make yourself legitimate to fight anybody else after that. Yeah, I think he's a dangerous guy. He's a tricky guy. He knows what he's doing in there, and Canelo doesn't always do well with guys who are, some climb kind of talents. Some guys have made him look kind of bad eventually to get them. But Caleb can make him look bad. Do I think Caleb's going to beat him? No, I don't. I don't think at the end of the day he's got enough to keep him off him for 12 rounds. I think eventually he gets walked down and he probably gets beaten late or gets beaten on the cards. But this isn't a joke fight. I mean, Plants beat everybody they put in front of him, and he's where he is for a reason. So I've interviewed him a couple times. I like him. I like the medal he's got. He's got a backstory. He's lived real life. He's had real stuff happen to him. He's not some phony guy. So I think if he gets Canelo in front of him, he's going to go out there and he's going to give his best effort. And
lastly, before I let you get out of here, and I always appreciate a couple of moments, were you happy to see after the Fox debacle that there was punishments handed down? I still don't think it's enough, but I mean, you've been covering this sport long enough. You're a diehard fight fan. Were you happy to finally see, even though it's always after the fact, suspensions handed down?
Oh, no question about it. Let's see something. I mean, it's one of the things that is hurting the sport that people like you and I love. I mean, there's a million reasons to ridicule boxing, but bad judging and bad people doing the judging. Let's try to erase that. We can do things to take care of that, and they need to get taken care of, like you said, before the fact rather than after.
All right, 30 seconds. Prediction for Saturday night.
I think Manny eventually gets him. I think the first couple rounds look tricky, but I think he's just too fast. I think he's still good enough at 42, unless he wakes up and suddenly feels old. I think he gets him late or wins on the cards. I called a 9th round TKO, but if he won, 9 out of 12 rounds and won a unanimous decision, it wouldn't surprise me either.
Interesting. So, I was going to ask you, since it's 90 degrees down there, that's probably why you enjoy covering the NHL a little bit. Make you feel a little cool here and there, right?
Yeah, well, and we do have the 2-time champs down this way. Florida's not a hockey state, but, the cup's been down for a couple years now. But, anything that connects me with my North and my Oilers and all that other stuff, they come down here a couple times a year.
All right, Fitzy, you know what? I think I'm losing you a little bit, but I always appreciate it, pal. Good stuff as always. I know I think we got a bad connection down there, but Fitzy does a great job. I always appreciate him for a couple moments. All right, quick timeout. We'll kind of reset the table on the other side.
It's back to school, and at Matt Blatt Kia, our math is easy. Put 0 down, make 0 payments for 90 days, or pay 0% financing for 60 months on every new 2022 Kia Stinger and Sportage in stock. Plus, we need your trade. We'll even buy it for cash, even if you don't buy a Kia from us. Used car values are at an all-time high. Your car may be worth more than you think. Worried about your credit? Forget it. We finance your future, not your past. All new 2021 Kia Niro EX-EV with 0 due in signing and 0 security deposit. Lease just $275 per month. It's basic math. 0 down, 0 payments, or 0 interest for 60 months.
Gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 and 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1667 per 1,000 borrowed. Negative equity financed into new loan. Niro 36-month lease, 10,000 miles per year. Excludes taxes, title, license, and doctrine. Offers don't combine. Call 877-289-6670 or go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 9/6/2021.
Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township,
and now on Route 37 in Toms River.
An official message for New Jersey voters about the 2021 general election. With new in-person early voting, you can cast your ballot in person using a voting machine.